Yeah. All right, y'all. We back with another episode of Uncalled. I got the gang with me today, man. We're gonna just pick up where we left off last week, man, with another division rankings breakdown. This week we are going to be talking about the NFC East division. We got a lot of great stuff for you, a lot of insight about our takes on what's going on in that division. I'm just gonna kick it off to one of the fellas. Aaron, start us off, man. What you got? What's your predictions?
I'm gonna start from the bottom to the top and try to be as quick as possible. Coming in fourth place, I got the Giants. I know they added, they got rid of Daniel Jones. He's in now. They've added Russ, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. They're better than DJ. I don't think that they necessarily do much for them in terms of this season running games. I think you kind of got polar opposite quarterbacks. You got Russ, who's pretty much conservative. He's scared to make a mistake, so he's going to play it safe most of the time. And then you got Jameis Winston, who will make every mistake possible, just being aggressive. So I think they'll kind of go back and forth on who's playing this year. And then towards the end, you might see Jackson Dart get some shine just due to the bad play of those two guys. And then I think you got a breakout running back in Tyrone Tracy, who had a hell of a season last year. Kind of came in, I won't say mid-season, but maybe like 5-6 games in, took over the starting role. Finished with 830 yards, 5 touchdowns, came in with 284 receiving yards. He's a former receiver from the University of Memphis. So I think both of those categories in rushing and receiving, you'll see a big jump. Obviously, you got Malik Neighbors, who was fantastic his rookie season. I don't expect anything to change there. I do think Cam Scadaboo will come in and kind of be that second running back on the depth chart. Devin Singletary is a good running back, but I think Cam kind of offers a different dynamic than what Devin can bring in terms of just power and kind of getting those gritty yards that you need that Tyrone Tracy probably can't get. And then you go on the other side of the ball, I think that their D-line is probably their strongest, their biggest strength. You got Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Dual Carter, who they just drafted top 5. And then you have Kayvon Thibodeau. I expect, Kayvon was a little bit down last year. I think he had 11.5 sacks the year before, down to 5. I expect with the added pressure on that D-line, I won't say a big jump, but maybe around 8 to 9 sacks maybe. And then in the secondary, you added Javon Holland, who I think is one of the best safeties, top 5 safeties in the league. So I have them at 4. I don't have the record for any of these teams. I just have the place. Then we're going to jump up to number 3. I got the Commanders. Might be questionable to some, but I do think they had a favorable schedule last season. As I was going through their schedule, they had one win, I believe, against a team over 500, which you play who's on your schedule, but at the end of the day, I don't think there was really much to go off of. They did great in the playoffs, getting to the NFC Championship. I do think that the drama that's going on with Terry McLaurin may hurt to start the season. Kind of depends on if he's there at camp. You have to be able to build that chemistry with your quarterback one and your receiver one going into that next season. And this is kind of the most consistent quarterback that Terry's had in his career. So for him to kind of get off to this shaky start with the contract situation, we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, they added Deebo Samuel. If this was 2-3 years ago, that would be a great pickup. But it's now we've kind of seen the drop off with Deebo as a receiver. I don't think he can bring them what they need in terms of a receiver gaining separation. They may try to use him as a gadget guy, as San Francisco did his past few years with them. But overall, I think when they also added a guy like Michael Gallup, who I think is a better receiver too than Deebo Samuel. We'll see how that plays out with him. I know he's kind of been up and down since his ACL injury a few years ago, so hopefully they find a way to scheme him up. I know he was a great yards after catch guy. Could take a slant to the crib, so we'll see how that goes. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you get obviously they just picked up Von Miller, and then you get a full season of Marshawn Lattimore, who they traded for before the deadline last year. So we'll see how that goes. I have them 3rd. My number 2 team, I have the Dallas Cowboys, mainly because Dak Prescott is healthy. He went out with a torn hamstring last year, and I think that kind of obviously derailed your season when you have to rely on Cooper Rush for the last part of your your season, and then I don't know if they gave Trey Lance a shot, but we all know his career didn't pan out how we thought it would be. Obviously, we've talked about it last week. You had a guy like George Pickens, who is essentially a receiver 1 playing in that 2 role. It'll be more of a 1A, 1B. I won't kind of get too much into their offense because we mentioned it last week, but I think their offense will be 10 times better than what it was last year. We also talked about their defense, Trayvon Diggs, top corner in the league, but he's going to miss the beginning part of the season. I think they have him slotted right now as a 2 cornerback behind Trayvon, Kyer Elam, who was Buffalo Bills' first-round pick a couple years ago. This kind of can be his opportunity to show that he's not that bust that the Bills thought he was. That's why they got rid of him. So I think it's a good opportunity for him. Obviously, you got Micah Parsons and you have Kenneth Murray Jr. commanding that linebacker core. They do have Osa Odighizuwa on that D-line who had a good year. I think he just got paid. And then obviously you have Dante Fowler Jr. coming in from free agency. So I think the D-line will be all right. The defense will do. It won't be great. It won't be the defenses we've seen in the past from Dallas. But I think it'll do enough for that offense to kind of carry the load. And then number one, obviously you got to go with the Super Bowl champs, man. They didn't really lose pieces, and if whatever piece they did lose, they replaced it instantly. I know they lost the linebacker Oren Burks. She replaced him with the rookie Jaheed Campbell. They brought in Aziz. I can't say his last name, but they brought in Aziz from the Giants. And then you have Josh Uche at linebacker, Nakobe Dean at linebacker. The D-line is nasty and young. You got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. So I think the defense is probably better than what it was last year. On offense, obviously you have Saquon Barkley. You bring in A.J. Dillon from the Packers, who was hurt last year. But if you look at his running totals as a running back 2, you got 600 yards, 770 yards, 803 yards the last 3 seasons. So it's just a guy to come in and give Saquon a break. We know he ran for nearly 2,000 yards last year, almost broke the record. So obviously he's going to come and be a great backup to that. So, I think the Eagles will kind of pick up where they left off last year and retain that division champ of the NFC East.
All right. So you said something interesting there. You said they picked up another running back to kind of take the load off Saquon Barkley. Do you feel like – I'm going to just pose the question to the whole group. Do you guys feel like they're trying to – the Eagles are going to switch up their identity? Because it seemed like they were kind of a run-first team, and then they would go, then they would go to A.J. Brown, the receiving core, look to them to get some help. Do you guys feel like that's going to change?
I think it's
If it ain't broke,
don't fix it. Yeah, same thing.
All right.
It is going to be interesting, though, because their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, he's the Saints head coach now. So they got a new OC. He's been on the staff. I think philosophy-wise it's going to be the same, but I think there is going to be some kind of new twist to it. It'll be interesting.
I got you. So, Johnny, I guess at that note, kind of take us through your predictions for this season. So you said it's going to be a little different. What's your outlook on the NFC East?
Yeah, I'll start from the top down. I have it playing out the same way it played out last year. I got the Eagles coming in first in the division. They lost a couple guys, but I still think top to bottom is the best roster in football. And we just talked about the offensive coordinator change. Kevin Patullo is the new OC there. He's been the pass game coordinator there for the last few years, so not much will change, but there will be some kind of new flavor added to the offense. Vic Fangio, still their defensive coordinator, one of the best in the game. They drafted Jahad Campbell from Bama at linebacker. Their first 5 picks in the draft this year was all defense. So they're just adding, the rich get richer, as some might say. Their key losses, every Super Bowl team is going to lose guys. They lost Mekhi Becton, who's a starting guard. Brandon Graham retired. Monty Gardner-Johnson, Josh Sweat. They lost the D-tackle Milton Williams. So they lost some, key guys on defense for sure. But I still think interior-wise, they have the best interior D-line in football, and it's not even close. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. You can't run the ball on these guys. Most teams would beg to have one of these guys, and the Eagles have 2 of them. You talk about Nakobe Dean on defense. He's going to be recovering from that knee injury, so I do expect Jahad Campbell to start at that middle linebacker position. And then once Nakobe Dean becomes a little more healthy, they'll move Campbell around. He can come off the edge. He can play these different positions. Secondary-wise, you got Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, really good young corners. And then they signed Adoree Jackson, and he's going to compete with Keely Ringo for that nickel spot, that third corner spot. And then you got Reed Blankenship at safety. And then Sidney Brown, who's now healthy, he's going to also play safety and kind of replace Gardner-Johnson. So this is going to be an outstanding defense. And then obviously Jalen Hurts, to me, is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Obviously he has great surrounding pieces, but what he does is just as good as anybody else, man. And, obviously Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. They have Jahan Dotson at receiver now. Dallas Goedert, Saquon, the addition to A.J. Dillon. And then offensive line wise, they got Lane Johnson back, Jordan Mailata. They have two of the best offensive tackles in football. I mean, this is just, I don't see any drop off in this team at all. I got them right around 14 wins once again. And I don't know who's going to beat him. Second in the division, I got the Commanders. Jaden Daniels, again, I'm ready to put him in the top five situation as well for the quarterbacks. You know, the Terry McLaurin contract situation that does need to be resolved. That is really the only like negative from the offseason the Commanders had. I think they've had a great offseason. They overhauled the offensive line. They acquired Laramie Tunsil with that big trade. They took Josh Connerly from Oregon in the draft in the first round. So they got two solidified offensive tackles to protect your young quarterback. They added Debo Samuel. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be smart with him. You know, he's not just going to throw him out at receiver. We're going to see him in the backfield. He's going to motion. He's going to be that gadget guy. So that'll be interesting to see. They re-signed Zach Ertz at tight end. And then the running back situation, to me, I'm not a huge fan of the running backs. You know, Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. They're just okay. But you also have a running quarterback. So you know, teams just can't key in on one thing on this offense. Their run defense last year was 30th in the NFL. It was bad. They cut Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle, and then they added 7 defensive linemen in free agency. And then you can count 8 if you want to add Von Miller into that, right? So they overhauled the D line. And then in the draft, I love that they picked Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss, in the second round. I think it was a steal, right? They got Marshawn Lattimore. And this guy, if you don't know his name, you might know it after the season. Mike Sainistril. He's their nickel corner. He started all 19 games for him. He started at nickel and then had some injuries at the outside corner position, so he moved outside. This is a dude that everybody's going to come to know. So I'm fired up to see the Commanders grow as a team. Yeah, we could talk about the age of the defense, right? Bobby Wagner, Von Miller. You know, there's some older guys on this team, but I think the core of it is going to carry them. I think they have a great coaching staff with Dan Quinn at head coach, so I still got them right around 12 wins this season. I think they're going to do really well. And then the Cowboys, you know, we talked about them. Dak, we expect a big year. He's got 2 number 1 receivers now. The new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer. We talked about last year in our previous episode, right? 7 of their 10 losses last year were by 1 score. I think they added the pieces that'll get them over the hump. And I see them winning about 10 games, 10 or 11 games this year. I'm excited to see what Dak can do with these weapons. You know, CeeDee Lamb in the slot, moving him around, George Pickens, right? And then the running back room, I'm excited to see because it's brand new. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and then Jaden Blue from Texas. I'm really excited to see. I think he's going to really open some eyes, and people are going to come to see him and try and put him in that top rookie running back class after this season. They signed Dante Fowler, who had over 10 sacks last year. Micah Parsons off the edge. They went and got Solomon Thomas on the D-line, who hasn't been great, but it's just depth. They're adding depth. Trevon Diggs is going to recover from his knee. They also drafted Siobhan Revel from Eastern Carolina. He was a kid who's coming out. He's one of the top rated corners out of the draft, so they picked him up. They traded for Kenneth Murray. They got Deron Bland. Malik Hooker's at safety. That's a name we all know. They got some pieces, and like I talked about last episode, they have the best kicker in football, I think. I do see the Cowboys being up there. They got to keep Dak healthy. And then I was watching the press conference with Schottenheimer. Him and McCarthy didn't see eye to eye schematically. He promised that there's going to be more pre-snap shifts, more motions, more play action passing. I think it's going to open up the offense. And they also hired Matt Eberflus to be the defensive coordinator, who was the head coach of the Bears. It wasn't a successful head coach, but as we've seen multiple times, you know, not every good coordinator is going to be a good head coach. So I'm excited to see what he does with the defense. And then the Giants, I got them coming in last. I think this is an exciting young group that they have, the young core, right? They obviously drafted Jackson Dart, Scadaboo, Malik Neighbors. I think those are 3 people on offense that you can get really excited about for the Giants. You know, I'm excited to see, you know, does Jameis become the starter? Does Russell Wilson? I don't know. It'll be cool to see how that plays out. And then just like Aaron said, the defensive line, to me, could be the best in football. The 4 guys, you could have Abdul Carter and Brian Burns off the edge, and then Kayvon Thibodeau could also rush off the edge, but you can kick him inside the 3 technique. And then you also have Dexter Lawrence. I mean, those are 4 unreal pass rushers. So when they get to third down, man, they're turning it on. I don't see them having to blitz as much. They can play coverage. So I think it's gonna keep them competitive in a lot of these games. I mean, they're gonna get after some quarterbacks that they're going against. So the Giants are definitely, I think, a year away from kind of being in the conversation to win this division, but they're going to be an exciting team. But to just go back to the top, the Eagles, it's going to be hard to knock them off, and I just don't see that happening.
Interesting.
Before we move on, I gotta ask because I don't know if I misheard this or not. But did you say the young Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback in today's league?
I'm ready to put him up there. He's no joke. Yes.
Wow.
He just led. So the Commanders last year, nobody expected anything. On paper, didn't have much, and he led them to the NFC Championship game as a rookie. And they didn't have a great defense. They didn't have all these weapons around him. You know, I think something's got to be said about that.
So Zach, how do you feel about that? What's your take? You don't think JD could be a top five quarterback, or you don't think he's at that point yet?
I totally agree that he definitely has the potential. I think it's a little premature to give him that spot because there's so many great QBs in the league. Like off the top of my head, I can think of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. There's so many guys I could put over him right now. I do think he has the full package to do so. I just don't. I think it's a little premature to give him a top five spot right now. Maybe top 10. It's fair. A top five was a little early on with him. He's only taken so many snaps at this point in his career. I can't even put him over Dak at this point. To be honest, it's not. I think it's not quite fair because we haven't seen him under pressure in certain situations. But I like the kid. I think he has a lot of potential. I think the sky is the limit for him. He got the full package, but I can't put him over guys like Jalen Hurts and people who've proven themselves in tough situations at this moment in time.
Well, I guess at that point, we'll kind of take us through. You mentioned Dak. You mentioned Jalen Hurts as being better quarterbacks than JD. So tell us about it, man. What's your outlook on the NFC right now? NFC East.
Bet. So I'll start from the top to bottom. I got Philly at number one. But let's just keep it real here. Like the Eagles, they're just like that annoying overachiever in fantasy. Like they just somehow just get the best picks in the offseason. They kind of just, make it happen. From top to bottom, they have the most overall stacked team from every position. And then the number one reason why I have them at number one is just the mentality of all their players. All their players just seem super poised and ready to win. They have that Mamba like mentality. If you look at Jalen Hurts in his interviews, he looks like he's here for one reason, to prove all the haters wrong. He's had one of those careers, even from college, where he's had to prove himself over and over and over again. And he's done it every time. Like even from going back to his Alabama days, to where he's lost his spot. Tua got hurt. He came back, did what he had to do for Alabama, then went to Oklahoma, did what he had to do there. So he's done it in the league. He's proven himself there. Especially AJ Brown, he seems incredibly locked in. Saquon seems like the type of player who just loves football to the death of him. So I got the Eagles, and their O line is just top notch. So I got the Eagles definitely as number one. The second choice was kind of hard for me because I was split between the Commanders and the Cowboys. But just going back and looking at their rosters, I have to put Dallas at number two, even though I really don't want to. But they seem like they made some decent offseason moves. With Jerry Jones getting ready to retire here, I think he's looking to go ahead and secure some wins before he makes his exit out, being one of the most historically known owners in the game. So if they can lock Michael Parsons down, I think they'll be able to lock that number two spot in. They've also made some good pickups in the offseason, like I said earlier. Number three, I like Jaden Daniels a lot. I think he just needs a little bit more time to, improve and get a couple more pieces around him. Unlike Aaron, I think Deebo Samuel is ready to dominate this season. I think that he's looking real healthy. He's proven a lot of he came into the offseason looking like he was out of shape. Watched a lot of his training videos and stuff. Now it looks like he's ready to go, locked in, and to prove himself at this new team. And then moving into my fourth spot, I got New York because I'm just not that impressed yet. I like Cam Scadaboo a lot. And I like Malik Neighbors a lot, but that team is so young, and I don't even think it's the players' fault, but I think it's that front office's fault. They haven't really done too much to really ensure that team's success to this point. So there's no way that Saquon Barkley should be playing for the Eagles right now, and that just tells me that organization is unserious at this moment. So that's why I got them at number four.
I feel like when we talk about the Giants, and Johnny mentioned something like this, that their pass rush, that D line is definitely arguably one of the I wouldn't say top five just yet, but they have potential to be a top five D line. And you know what I mean, Anthony. So
I would
Anthony,
say top
if
five.
you agree with that,
I think they're
I
top
feel
five for sure. I think the
talk
Eagles
about it.
obviously is in top five. Once again, you have I call Dexter Lawrence. He's top two defensive tackle. I don't think there's another. There may be one other defensive tackle. You got Jalen Carter that can compete for it. Um, excuse me. You got outside of Jalen Carter, honestly, I don't see nobody else taking that D tackle spot away from him. You got Brian Burns. Brian Burns, he came from Carolina for that trade. That was one of the biggest moments that they had last offseason. I like what Zach said. Like their front office kind of Their front office has disappointed them, but they're kind of building back up from the youth foundation, so that's a good part on them. Thibodeau, hopefully he breaks out this season and helps them out. But just from what you've seen from that clip of Abdul Carter and the other three I mentioned before, like you said, get them in third down. It's going to be tough to get a first down. Get them. They're going to get off the field for you. I think the biggest question mark is going to be on the other side of the ball. So.
Okay. Well, take us through. I guess kind of take us through your predictions, man. What's your outlook on it?
I'll go just like Aaron. I'll go bottom up, and unfortunately, I got the New York Giants after saying they got a top 5 D line, but it just is what it is. You have the toughest schedule in the NFL. You have question marks at your quarterback, which you have 3 quarterbacks that you have 2 guys. Well, one guy that was the guy for a long time in Seattle, and then his previous 2 spots from New York and Denver and Pittsburgh has kind of been underwhelming. Then you got Jameis Winston, who's a great locker room guy, but when you put him out on the field, he's either going to do very great or he's not going to do so well. It's hard to get a middle ground with Jameis Winston. Jackson Dart, he's a rookie. You never know what you get with rookies. I do like the way that they are forming their weapons with Malik Neighbors, obviously. I like Tyrone Tracy as a dual threat. Come out of the backfield, get some catches. Wayndale Robinson, I like how the fact that he gets open, but he don't maximize those opportunities all the time. He can drop a lot of balls in those moments. He was on my fantasy team, and I was getting very frustrated with him because he could have won me a lot of matchups, but it's okay. New year. But just going on with that, man, it's just unfortunate for the Giants. I don't know how you get how you're last in your division and one of the worst records in the league and pull up with the toughest opponent. But it's mainly due to the division. It's going to be a bloodbath this year. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think my prediction is actually going to shock a couple of people, but number 4 is going to be the Giants with 4 wins. I think they're going to be competitive. Just like I said with the Browns the other week, I think they're going to be competitive in majority of their games. It's just going to be unfortunate that I don't think they'll have enough firepower on the offensive end to actually win those games, right? So you may have a lot of one-possession games, but after looking at the schedule, I think the other teams will just be able to pull it out. Third, I got the Commanders. Actually got them winning 10 games. I got all 3 of the top 3 NFC East teams winning 10 plus games, right? Like I said, it being very competitive. They all want that top spot. I have the Commanders, and I actually have them on a slow start, right? The first 8 weeks, I have them going 3-5, including losses from Green Bay, the Chargers. I actually think Caleb Williams and the Bears are going to beat them on Monday Night Football. Got lose them to Dallas, and then they go to KC in October. Last game in October, right? So I actually got them going 3-8 to start the season, but I think it picks up. I think they'll get 3 straight wins against the Seahawks, against the Lions, and against the Dolphins, and kind of build momentum from there. And then from that point, they're just going to be scratching and clawing, trying to get a playoff spot. So I got them winning 10 games. I'm not sure what the Terry McLaurin situation is going to be. I'm sure he's going to get paid, but I think that's going to impact the team a little bit. Debo, I think his best years is behind him. As a 49er fan, I mean, I guess it depends how they use him. Like, as a 49er fan, I think we utilize him a lot, that it just took a toll on his body. So he's not as effective in the things that he's great at, right? He was never, for us, he was like, just give the ball to him and go be that guy, right? But when you do that a whole bunch of times, you essentially utilize as a running back. So it should be interesting to see how he holds up health-wise. Michael Gallup, like Aaron said, is added. It's going to be interesting how he holds up health-wise. So I like Jaden Daniels, but he's got to depend on a lot of pieces being healthy or his wide receiver 1 being back on the field. So I got him being third in the division. So second in the division, I actually got Philadelphia Eagles. So I know we already talked about the Cowboys. Yeah,
Warriors.
got the Eagles coming second. Three main reasons, actually four main reasons why. There's never been a repeat winner in the NFC East since 2004. So it just shows how much variety that the NFC East brings just when it comes to a representation standpoint. So I also said in last week's episode, I think the Dallas Cowboys are just going to start the season off on fire, right? Have things to prove. You got Dak Prescott back. I think they're just going to have things going. I actually have Dallas winning the opener against the Philadelphia Eagles at the Link. So even with that, the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl before this time, they had a change of coaches, right? Sirianni obviously was still the head coach, but you had one of the coaches took a job to the Colts, another took the job to the Cardinals, and then the team just couldn't. They just wasn't on the same page for that full season. You even got into a point where it was like, should we fire Sirianni, right? And obviously that would have been a stupid deal if they did. But it just shows when you're good, people are going to be moving to other places, and it's going to be hard to retain. Okay, sometimes even though you may be in the same system, Johnny said they hire somebody in the same system, doesn't mean it's always going to fit well. The 49ers fans, if we know, we just hired a DC last year before Saleh coming back that was in the system for years, and it just didn't work out on the defensive court. Sometimes you're just not a good play caller, or just managing that whole unit on your side of the ball. And that's okay, right? But man, if you look at the Eagles' schedule, they start off with Dallas, which I have them losing. Then they go to Kansas City, another game with I have them losing. Then they go to the Rams, or they host the Rams, and then they go to Tampa Bay and then host Denver. None of them are toss-ups for them to win. Like, none of them are a definite win for sure. So I think they'll have a slow start to the season, similar to the Commanders, and then pick it up on the back end. They are rolling and figuring things out. Another component that I'm adding to this is you just won a Super Bowl. Like, sometimes outside of the Chiefs and the Patriots, you can get those teams that win the Super Bowl and kind of start feeling themselves. Like, Eagles start going around and it's like, hey, like, maybe I don't have to work as hard, or maybe, I'm really that guy. I showed this last year, but maybe the work you showed last year is not showing this year. And now, you just got riffraff going on. Maybe they stay together. I don't know how it goes, but with the tough schedule and you have people moving in and out, like, it's just a lot, right? And they don't have as much rest as the Dallas Cowboys coming off of that Super Bowl season. And, I mean, it could sound silly, but Saquon Barkley is the Madden cover. Crazy things that happen with these Madden cover athletes, right? So I don't never will wish injury on somebody, but I don't know how it keeps happening. But people, unless you're Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, like something just happens to you when you are on the cover of Madden. So, but I'm gonna go to my prediction to win the NFC East. I have the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, I think they're just going to start off really well. I got them winning the opener against the Eagles. They have the Giants. And the Bears after that. And I think they'll just start rolling and getting comfortable, right? The head coach is definitely a question mark. I don't think that's a no-brainer, but they always had question marks with their head coaches, and they've still been able to perform well and win the division. So I think they'll pay Micah right before the regular season start. I think the energy will be high in the locker room. I think Dak will come back with something to prove, because 2 years ago he had a great season. He was even in MVP talks and considerations, and now he had that season last year where he was still killing last year. He just got hurt, right? So I think he's just going to. He hears all the chatter of saying, "Oh, man, like, Dak is not a top 10 QB. Is he really reliable?" Even including from me. I mean, he's not going to hear me, but I have those same thoughts, right? Is he reliable in the playoffs? Which I think he's just going. I still think he's going to have the same results in the playoffs. he got to prove that wrong to me. But regular season, man, that's where he does his best work, and I think he will lead the Cowboys to an NFC East title this year. So I actually have the Cowboys winning 12 games, the Eagles winning 11, Commanders winning 10, and the Giants winning 4.
Eagles fans ain't gonna like that. Ain't gonna like that, boy.
Man, we
Hey,
gotta
but they
cut that up.
they got Norland Smith, boy.
Northern Smith. Nah, I do question though. You brought up the coaching
We got to
changes.
question a lot there.
You brought up the coaching changes with the Eagles, right? So they lost, obviously, Kellen Moore. They hired the new offensive coordinator who's been the pass game coordinator. Obviously, there's going to be some changes, but defensively, they still have Vic Fangio. I know you talked about the last Super Bowl. Jonathan Gannon was their DC, and he took the Cardinals job. But
Yep.
this time around, their DC stayed. So, like, do you see much of a drop off with the defense, or?
Well, I think maybe not too much of a drop off. I think it's just the combination of they have a lot of young guys on that defense, right? That D line is young, the DBs are young. So that's where I think on the defensive side, I just got to see where their heads at after returning from or after winning the Super Bowl, right? Are they ready to go another season, or are they just gonna be like, "Oh, shit, like we good, like we just won a Super Bowl, like we've heard stories before where it's like, oh, we got there before, we can do it again, and it just never happened. So I think Vic Fangio and them, they will be fine. Obviously, health plays a factor, but also you're losing veterans like Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, excuse me. So just to keep that, sometimes just to have those guys in the room helps a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like when they're not in the room. So offensively, I mean, they should be fine. Get the ball to Saquon. You should be good. Don't do too much. But we always know there's, sometimes AJ Brown like to make sure that he's known out there and say, hey, I need to be part of it. So we just gonna see. I think they are going to be fine, but after looking at them first 5-6 games, it's just tough for me to see that they get into a groove early. I think that's going to hurt on the back end.
Brother, let me ask you something. Who do you think's? I was itching to ask you this. Who do you think's offense going to be better, Phillies or the Cowboys? Who do you think will have the better offense there?
I think the Cowboys will have a better offense.
Lord, all
Really?
right.
Yep.
You see that.
That's a hot take right there.
All right.
Boys, is it? I mean,
Dallas?
What I said?
Wow. Okay.
I think
Dallas
the
got the better
Cowboys.
quarterback.
I think the Cowboys. Once again, I think Dak will try to have something to prove here, right? And they have a more favorable schedule. So sometimes it's not about who has the better team. Sometimes it's about who's got the better schedule.
Who's the better quarterback? Fuck who got what to prove. Who's the better quarterback, Dak or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Dak. I
So
think Dak.
But I think just because you're the better quarterback don't mean you're going to play better.
I think Jalen just manages
see
the
it all the
game
time.
a lot better than Dak does at times. But quarterback wise, I will for sure take Dak, bro. Like I'm not.
Jalen,
What?
you're building a team. You're taking Dak over Jalen Hurts today.
Yeah.
I feel
Wow.
like if we looking at a quarterback, you got to look at game management as one of the
Man just
essential
won a Super
skills you
Bowl.
need. You know what I mean? Exactly.
I mean, he
just
won a Super Bowl when the Chiefs scored 0 at halftime. Like, I'm not saying it was it was damn near a walk in the park, bro. They could have scored 17 points, 10 points, and they wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. Like, the defense carried. I'm not saying Jalen didn't play a part, but like,
I'm saying Jalen threw a
coulda
touchdown in that game.
What part of Jalen's game is
played
flawed?
well.
What does Jalen do that's wrong? But his game is damn near perfect.
I don't know, man. I just think there's times where the offense, it looks stalled, where if the run game isn't going, like, yeah, we sent that post of, like, Jalen, if he throws the ball 30 more times, he has a winning record. But I'd like to see more context behind that, like what's the score to those games, what's the defense looking like. But I just feel like if I'm in a situation where I need the ball in my quarterback's hands to make a play, I think although it hasn't shown in the playoffs, I just like Dak's ability to throw the ball more than I like Jalen's. Jalen's really a run-first guy, which there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, like I said, we've seen Jalen without top-tier receivers. And I'm not saying he was a younger Jalen Hurts, but it just didn't look like the way Dak did when, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just bullshitting, but
I would
I'd take
I would
Dak.
say this.
We
I
we
would
we
say
we've
this.
seen we've seen Jalen without AJ
In his rookie season,
first two
I would say
seasons. I mean, he had
this.
Devontae his second season, but my fault.
No, you
The
good.
same
I
way
would
you
say
did.
this. I think Jalen does a better job taking care of the ball. He does what he's supposed to. He don't do the extraordinary that everybody else looks for, right? So that's why I think Jalen is better because when it comes to the bright lights, like Jalen don't change up, right? He's going to be the same Jalen all the time. So that's why I think he's better. But at the same time, I'm taking regular season Dak Prescott over regular season Jalen Hurts. Once again, we've seen that Dak Prescott have put in a great performance in regular season. That is no issue to me. My issue with Dak is in the playoffs. So in the regular season, I'm taking Dak over Jalen Hurts. In the playoffs, I'm taking Jalen Hurts 10 out of 10, right? So another piece with I know I sent that graphic with Jalen Hurts. He played in 66 total games. Only 30 of them he was asked to throw more than 30 times, right? The other guys have well over a lot of more games than Jalen Hurts. So I don't know even from an OC standpoint, and maybe it needs more context. Maybe you didn't need to throw it more than 30 times. But also it could be a time where it's like, okay, maybe we don't trust Jalen as much to throw the ball as much as the other guys, right? So just because that record is right there of saying 30 plus throws it doesn't give the full story. But at the end of the day, I trust Jalen Hurts more than I do Dak Prescott. But in the regular season, I would still take Dak Prescott just because he's a regular season guy. That's who he is.
Just a regular dagular.
Regular,
Exactly.
regular.
I guess if there's one thing we know about Dak, he gonna throw that ball for sure. He'll
There's
throw
a
the
lot
hell
of
out of that
regular
ball.
season, quote unquote,
Where's it
regular
gonna go?
season guys. I ain't gonna lie. So you take Jalen Hurts over Lamar?
He threw a punch.
that's a different question. But let me think about it.
Oh my
Let me think
god.
about it.
He's coined a regular season guy too. Like he ain't did shit in the postseason, but I guarantee you take Lamar over Jalen.
I don't like the comparison between Dak and Lamar. I don't think that's even fair. Like
They're
there's not.
quarterbacks. They're both
I'm
quarterbacks.
just saying like you're coining one guy regular season guy, but then
If you
the
want to
other
be
guy.
real, if you want
My
to be
fault.
real, yes, I
My
would.
fault. There's two other people that gotta
Trouble.
go. My bad.
My answer is yes, I will
Let's
take Jalen Hurts over Lamar. If I'm building a team, I'm taking Jalen Hurts
Over
because
Lamar Jackson?
yes,
See,
because
Smart man. Smart man.
Man.
I
you
will
taking
because
Jalen over Lamar.
like Lamar is a little bit more flashy, and I like his style of play a little bit more. But if we talking about getting a job fully done in all aspects of the game, I have to give Jalen Hurts his full credit. Lamar is my favorite quarterback in today's league, but if I'm just being real, like certain respect got to go where it got to. Jalen Hurts' game is damn near unflawed. Like I can't think
Shit.
of a flaw in his game.
so
I
you
can
take
think
Scoob,
of
what you
flaws in
say?
other
What you think?
quarterbacks.
you'll take
Scoob, what
Trent
you think?
Dilfer over Lamar, huh?
Where'd you rank Jalen in your top 10 QBs?
Where do I rank him?
Where did you when we did it?
I don't remember. We got to go back to the tapes. I really don't.
I
You
know
gotta
you
check the
put
film.
Lamar at one. That's all I know you did. But
I did, but like I did, and even if I gotta go back on my statement, thinking about it right now today, doing more research, more and more research, Jalen, his game is just so unflawed. Like he doesn't fuck up. He
It's
does what
hard
he
to
got to
fuck up.
do.
he take care of
It's
the
hard.
ball.
It's hard.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
do.
shit. It's hard to fuck up with that team.
It is hard to fuck up, but he
Yeah,
don't
you
though.
right.
Like so, we can talk shoulda, coulda, woulda all day, but when he show up and do his, he clock in every day. So I can't sit here and take nothing from him. He do what he got to do, and like it is hard to fuck up, but he not.
I ain't gonna lie though, this question feel like more of a if you asking regular season wise, then the Lamar taking Lamar one makes sense. But if you're talking postseason wise, then that's a whole different list we could create right there off the bat.
To me, it's not
But
two
kind of
separate conversations. But sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
It's
You
not
you,
two
you get
separate
it.
conversations, bro. Like, why would we not account for just in totality? Like, who's the best quarterback? Jalen Hurts. It's not even close. Like, it doesn't matter who does what in regular season versus postseason. Who's the best quarterback? Period, bar none. Who gets the job done? Who gets results at the end of the season? Who's winning the championships?
Who has more on their plate though? At the end of the day, like one
Right.
quarterback may hold more of a burden than the other, which
Yeah.
we seen
Okay.
Jalen didn't have to do much in that Super Bowl. Not saying he didn't do much in the playoffs leading up, but there's other quarterbacks this is damn near our first episode, that got to put the cape on for their team to have a chance. I don't think Jalen has to put a cape on to do anything, like
Well,
to win games for the. It helps that he doesn't fuck up and turn the ball over, but that just goes to show some quarterbacks have to do a little bit more than the other. I think you have to take that into consideration as well.
So you're saying that
It's
Jalen has to do more than Lamar? Like Lamar has one of the best running backs the game has ever seen. Lamar has receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like
Too far,
it's not.
but
Too far. Yeah, I was like, no, nigga,
he
hold
don't
on.
he don't he
He
don't
don't
he
have an
don't got
AJ
it.
Brown and a Devontae Smith over there, but I'm just
He
go
don't
ahead, bro.
got that elite, but they're just talent in Baltimore at the receiver position. There's talent at the tight end position. There's talent. He has their receiver room that ain't light. It
The
ain't weak.
same
And it's,
talent
they,
that had the
they
two
ain't weak,
point
but they ain't
conversion
raw.
just bounce off his chest in the playoffs against the
Right.
Bills. That same talent,
no.
but
I do want to say this about Jalen Hurts. That Super Bowl they lost 2 years ago against the Chiefs. He balled out. You go back and watch it. He balled out.
He did.
He threw for over 300 yards. And then obviously the game came down to that pass interference or that holding call on defense. So if he has to, we've seen it. If he's got to throw the football to keep them in the game, he's done it. Give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
respect,
Top five
respect,
QB.
man, respect. School, what's your list looking like, man? Let's
All
talk
right, so I'm
about
gonna
it.
start from the bottom up. Keep it short because it's pretty much the same as most of y'all's, besides Anthony's. Fourth place, I got the New York Giants. The ceiling will be 6 wins. Floor will be 4 wins. I just said that because they got the schedule. Their team does not match the schedule. First 6 weeks, they got the Chiefs, Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, back to the Eagles. I'm like, damn, boy, it's gonna look ugly in New York. Outside outside of rookie Malik Neighbors, man, they ain't got that much weapons. They can call on Tyrone here and there, but outside of that, I don't think. Outside of that, I don't think they got too much. I like Cam. Cam come from the same soil as most of us. He got that dog in him. But I just think it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough, especially with that team. But like what most of y'all was saying about and the quarterback too. Russell Wilson, great respect. I hope he brings out leadership over there in New York. But as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, my best advice: put in Jackson, dog. Put in Jameis, man. Go ahead, just put them into the game, dog. Don't try to ride that shit too long. It ain't gonna work. Motherfuckers ain't scared of Russell no more. Just go ahead and just try the new kid. On the other side of the ball, defense, like y'all said, the D line's crazy. I think the D line's gonna be top three between the Steelers and the Eagles. They're gonna be up there. I don't know if y'all talked about Javon, the rookie, the safety, Holland. I didn't see it. I don't know if y'all talked about that one, but I think he's gonna be a cool
Karen brought
one.
it up.
Yeah, I think he has great potential too. Bottom line, I think they have great foundation. And the good news for the New York Giants fans, y'all will have a top 5 pick. So you guys might get Arch, you guys might get Ryan, you guys might get Jeremiah Smith. So congratulations, fellas. That's the only thing to look forward
Did
to.
they trade him?
That, yeah, that's a fact.
Third place, I got Dallas. Ceiling 10 to 11 wins. Floor is gonna be 7 to 8 wins. I feel like it's gonna be like a Pittsburgh Steel year for them. It's gonna be that hover around the 500 mark. It might be dead even, one game above or one game below. Only reason why, because I think the defense. I think they have a good pass rush. They always had a good pass rush. But will they have a good run defense? Can they stop the run? That's the motherfucking main question. I think that's where they struggle with in a few years. They just gotta have people stop. They got them linebackers and DBs that step up and make them tackles. Granted, you do have a rushing king in your division. And if you can't stop the run, you're a bum. Period. On the offensive side, though, I think Dallas does have the firepower to make up for that defense. I just think the question is Dak. Dak, are you going to do what you paid to do, brother? Do what you need to do, brother. 'Cause I feel like the team is going to count on you this year. This is going to be the biggest year. Okay, you got some little solid pieces around defense. You got everything you asked for on offense. So just get it done. So I think between this division, the third, second, and first place, it's going to be like 2 games separate all from these 3 teams. Second place, I got Washington Commanders. Steelers going to be 12 to 13 wins. Floor probably 9 to 10 wins. I think Jaden Daniels could be a top 5, but I think the sophomore slump, we're going to see if that shit's real. People got film on him this year. We're going to see his tendencies and what he likes to do. Can he counter that shit? That's going to be a big question. I think he will. You know what I'm saying? That's why I got them second. Team hasn't changed a lot. Bottom line for the Commanders, they're balanced and hungry. In the words of Baby, they got something to prove. But first place, you got to go Philly. Pennsylvania brothers over there wearing that green. Ceiling 13, 14 wins, 4, 10 to 11 wins. Nothing much to really say. I know you guys had a few questions about the defense, but I think they scared of Jalen Carter. I think his own teammates are scared of Jalen Carter. I think the new kid's gonna step up to whatever Jalen Carter got to say. If he said go run and go get him, I'm gonna go run and go get him. I'm not gonna question it. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna find a way. If Jalen say it, I'm gonna do it. I think he's one of the big dogs. I think he's a leader on the defensive line, and I really think a lot of people are scared of that cat. So I think he's gonna be the vocal point of that defense. Um, Offense, I'm not even going to bring the best offense we've seen in a minute. So I think, like I said, still in 13, 14 wins, 4, 10 to 11. That's my little ranking on the NFC East.
Okay. I guess let me just take it away then, man. For myself, I got the Eagles 12-5. I'm just gonna work my way from the top to bottom. I got the Eagles 12-5, best team in the division. I mean, Super Bowl champs. They have one of the best receiving duos in the NFL, in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think we're going to see a little bit more from them this season, as last year they relied heavily on Saquon Barkley to kind of win them and give them that push just to get them started in games. But, I mean, looking at Saquon Barkley, best running back in the NFL, had over 430 carries last season in the course of 20 games, which I don't think is going to be sustainable for him this year. Just it's wear and tear as a running back. Saquon's already had a few major injuries, but barring any injuries, if he can keep that level of play up, then, I mean, hey, he could go back for another 2K season. But I just don't think 436 carries, you could do that. You can replicate that again, man. So I think they're going to rely a little bit more on the pass game this season. But looking at the line for the Eagles, they have a top 5 O-line last year, over 2,000 snaps, only 3 sacks given up. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to not generate offense when you have a line that's blocking this good and doing the incredible, honestly. And then that leads to Jalen Hurts' performance, man. He's one of the best fourth quarter quarterbacks in the game with a QBR of, a passer rating of 112 in the fourth quarter, which is pretty hard to stop a team when your quarterback and their line and all these pieces are just working in unison. Eagles, man, they look great on the offensive side of the ball. Not much has really changed. And then we look at the defensive side. Lost Slay, but I think that was a good shed for him. He was older, not as good as he was in previous seasons, but they added young names like we already listed. And then also, too, a guy that I'm really heavy on that they added on the D-line, Ty Robinson, a fourth round out in Nebraska, a D lineman. I think he has a lot of potential to be something special for another special piece for that D-line that could go good with Jalen Carter and the rest of them. So I think that's the Eagles are pretty much solid all around, man. So the only thing I'll say is they have a challenge in week 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, went against them in the Super Bowl. So we'll see how that matchup goes. I think there's a lot of, not animosity, but that will be a game that will be marked on the calendar. I'll say that for sure. Also, Eagles got Tampa Bay and Detroit later on in the season, so those will be some interesting games to watch and add to the calendar. But overall, Eagles are in a prime position to just honestly repeat, man. I think they have a solid roster, didn't lose much. Same guys. I think Anthony mentioned, when you win the Super Bowl, you might let your foot off the gas. So that might be the biggest concern from them. But barring any injuries, man, I think they're pretty solid. So I got them at 1. Cowboys, number 2 in the division. Schottenheimer for the Cowboys. He's going to have to do what many Cowboy coaches before him could not, and that is win that division and win a Super Bowl. I think the biggest question for me, as we already talked about the Cowboys previously, I think Dak's durability is the biggest question. He's missed 26 games in the last 5 seasons. The ankle injury in 2020, which we all know was pretty gruesome. Calf strain in 2021. Torn hamstring. So if your quarterback can't stay healthy, most likely you're not going to win games like that. I mean, granted, you got Cooper Rush. You just got my brother out of New England. I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. You got Joe out of New England, man. So you got some solid backups. But if your starter can't stay healthy, I think it's going to cause trouble for your team. Also, the Cowboys didn't address the running back room efficiently. I mean, they had Rico Dowdle, Zeke Elliott last year. Now they got Javonte Miles, which I think these guys are, plug and play guys. You could get a little bit of production out of them, but they are not the answer for this Cowboys team. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, great move, obviously, and that's another top 5 receiving duo. And if Dak Prescott can stay healthy and get the ball to them, then this offense can put up great numbers. If we look at the defensive side, no more DeMarcus Lawrence, but they added Dante Fowler in his absence to fill that void, which we already talked about. I like the Kenneth Murray addition. I think that does help the issue with the run defense that they had last year. I think they tighten up a little bit on that end as long as you got guys like Michael Parsons and the other signees they got this offseason to kind of step it up and play their role, which kind of catapult the Cowboys to that 10 wins I was predicting for them. Third, I got the Commanders, 9-8. Third best team in the division. Jaden Daniels, second best QB in that division, but I think he has the highest potential, just natural ability wise, out of all those quarterbacks in there. They had a 12-5. They went 12-5 last year to an NFC Championship game. So the fact they already were at the door, I feel like they can do it again. But they do have some questions for me. Although Jaden Daniels has given that franchise new life, he shows them that they can win again with without much. But they did add protection around him. Laramie Tunsil. They added Debo Samuels. I think those are decent moves if they can figure out the Terry McLaurin situation and keep him paired up with Debo and then Michael Gallup. I mean, I like Luke McCaffrey. I think he might be a sleeper guy for him. And also, they got KJ from New England, and I think those guys can all stay together and keep that receiving core strong. I think Jaden got some weapons, man. He might be dangerous. Something might be going off in Washington, but we will see. Because if Terry does not stay, there is some rumors he might go to a team in the AFC East. We'll stay tuned to that. So we'll keep focus on that.
I mean,
but
the AFC North.
Let's look at the defensive side. Oh no, brother. Look at the defensive end of that. The Commanders. They lost Jonathan Allen, which was a huge loss to that defense. They added Kinlaw from the Niners this year. Also, they lost Dante Fowler, of course. But I think with Marshawn Lattimore in that defensive secondary, we didn't see him much last year. But I think with him there, he can tighten up a few things. But I think that run defense will be a little shaky this year. So if you can't stop the run, you can't stop a nosebleed, you can't really do much. We will see. But there's a lot of bright spots on that offensive side, which is why I put them at 3. Giants, where do we start with that, man? I don't got faith in Brian Daboll. They passed up on Shador, which I think would have been a great move for him. Respectively, there's like
For anybody.
a little bit I like about this team. I think Cam Scadaboo definitely, or Scadaboo, whatever, respectfully. I think he's going to be a great addition to the squad, man. I think he's going to be a great addition out of Arizona State. He's going to definitely sell some seats, get that offense a little bit of firepower. But as a running back, you need a good offensive line. That offensive line is absolute dog shit. They were 29th in the league last year. They're not going to get shit done for him. And it's going to be a hell of a season for that young brother. And God, I just hope that, he can stay healthy and the Giants can reboot up and get him the protection he needs. Looking at the quarterback room, they have Jameis, they got Russell, they got Jackson, which so far I've heard all negative things about coming out of camp, the preseason or the camp they had this offseason. Guys not liking Russell Wilson in the locker room already is not a good sign.
Damn.
You got Jameis and Jackson Dart that are like having bad OTAs, which is not a good sign, once again, for a team that's trying to rebuild and establish themselves. But they do have a bright spot, which I was mentioning. We look at the defensive side of the ball. They got Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon, Abdul, Brian. I mean, that defensive line is just immaculate. That's what you want from a team. And I think if we look back historically, the Giants always have had, whenever they've been to the Super Bowl in the playoff conversations, they've had an elite defensive line. And I think this is where they're starting back up again. They're getting back to their roots and building from the defensive line all the way back up. So, which I see the plan. I like the plot, man. Ultimately, I think they have the toughest schedule in the NFL, going up against the Chiefs, Rams, Lions, and they got to go through the NFC East division, obviously. I think they should honestly tank, try to get Arch, but try to get Jeremiah.
Right.
But, yeah, don't do too much this offseason because I think they still need – or don't do much this season, man, because they need to fill some holes. They need to fill some holes, but I have them at 4 and going 5-12. That's my prediction for this NFC East division, man. Does anyone got any takes? Anyone got anything to mention?
I got a question for y'all. So y'all everybody said Cam Scadaboo. Y'all really think he gonna be like that?
No.
No, because of his offensive line. That's the only reason. I think that he's great talent. He actually came out of college at a terrible time with all the running back talent, with Judkins and with what's his name who went to the Raiders. It was a tough time. I think he's really like that. It's just he's in an unfortunate situation right now.
And let me clear up. That was a very rude no of me. I apologize, Cam.
It's Sunday, brother. It's Sunday.
But the way Miles hyped it up to say he gonna be selling seats, like, no.
That's the main reason why I asked the question, because he said that. I'm like, is there something I'm missing about this man?
I think he has the capability to, if you just think back to that playoff game against Texas when Arizona State could do nothing on offense the whole game, and then in the fourth quarter, it was literally the Cam Scadaboo show. It was him
Absolutely.
against Texas, bro. Like he did everything in that game to get them into the game, man. So like him showing he could do that, I mean, I think you have to say like there is some potential of him, at least having a good couple years coming out. And I'm not saying he's going to be in the Saquon Barkley tier of backs, but like I think he's going to be really exciting to watch.
So let me ask you this: what's the ceiling? Like, what's a player
I
comparable
was just about to ask that.
that you can say this
I
is his
think
ceiling?
personally, I think
Man,
if he can get to another team, his ceiling is CMC. I think he's like
Ooh.
that.
All right, bro.
I wouldn't go that
I
Yeah,
think
far.
he's
hell
like
yeah,
that.
hell yeah,
Listen,
If
listen,
he,
listen,
if
listen.
hell
No,
yeah,
stop.
hell yeah.
We'll just. Nah, bro. You don't have
Let's
to
just go to the next
elaborate.
person.
You
Let's
don't
just go to the
This
next
man
elaborate.
about to
person.
eat episode.
I think Cam Scadaboo or Scadabo, I think they could get really creative with him. And I mean that by when you have a guy like Tyrone Tracy, obviously he's going to be your lead back. I think he could be your second back. I think Dayball can get really creative in how he schemes things up, where he could run out of a two-back set, and knowing the skill set you have of Tyrone Tracy, defenses have to respect that. They bring in another linebacker, line him up at wide receiver. Cam takes off. I don't know. There's things you could do. I think he's a really good. His ceiling right now is just a great backup. I think I'm not expecting him to rush for a
backup,
thousand. Yeah, and I mean that's
He's not
fine, bro.
starting.
Like there's a
He's not starting.
yeah, not off rip.
that's okay.
Hell no.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah,
that.
I
Respect,
think
respect.
I think what we mentioned AJ Dillon earlier when he was backing up Aaron Jones. I think that is a great comp in terms of a guy who can come in. If AJ's down, he get you a 100-yard game possibly. But I think throughout the season, you could look between the seven, maybe I would say 500 to 700 yards a year, maybe like 6, 7 tugs off like goal line or red zone. I don't think he's going to be a lead back. That's just me personally. I don't think he has the qualities for it to be an
I,
every down back.
I
Man.
think he's a yards after carry type of guy. I think he could take a hit and keep going, man.
He can.
How
He's
he's
many?
not
powerful,
missing any
man.
How
He is
qualities.
a
many hits can
powerful
he
runner.
take though?
But
I
like,
heard he's all.
With that
I heard
line,
he's
that's the
already
only thing.
banged up and battling injuries.
do I trust him as a third down back right now for New York? Probably not, especially when you got Tyrone Tracy.
Right.
Can he be a receiving threat when needed to be? Not saying you need a running back to catch the ball all the damn time, but can he oppose that threat for you? I don't know. I don't think I've seen enough Arizona State games to see that, but I did watch the playoffs. I didn't see much of it, even though he was doing a little bit of everything. But on a consistent basis, can you bring that to the table? I don't know yet. We have to see. But I think being a great second option is good, especially in New York. Because like you said, it changes it up. You go from a guy like Tyrone Tracy, and then you bring in a bruiser like Cam Scadabo. So it keeps the defense on their heels. But yeah, I don't. He's not putting nobody in seats. I don't think anybody's thinking about Cam Scadabo buying a
I
New York
beg to
Giant taking
differ.
jersey as much as a Jackson Dart jersey or a Abdul Carter jersey or
Cam got a
Malik
good
Neighbors.
follow. He got a good
He
following,
might,
bro.
bro.
I ain't
Malik
gonna
Neighbors
lie.
is selling tickets, dog. Malik Neighbors is selling them tickets.
Oh, for
Yeah, that's
sure, for
that's
Yeah,
sure.
Like,
he gonna sell
I'm
tickets,
not. I'm
but
not
as a
saying Cam
rookie,
not going to sell
as a rookie.
jerseys, but I'm like, you're not going to see that when you're walking to the game and you see a bunch of whatever 44 jerseys. Like he's not that type of guy. Yeah,
It
not saying
depends,
he
man.
can't be,
Yes,
but
yes.
coming
I
out,
think
I don't know
I
if
don't
he'll
think
be
he
that guy in
generated
New
that much
York.
hype in college, like outside of that run he had in the college playoffs. But I think he definitely, after a few good games,
Do you think he's better than Tracy, Zach? Because
Yes,
see, I don't think so, but
hmm,
yes.
he won't be that guy as long as
hmm.
potential.
Tracy is there. I
I
think
think he's in
Tracy.
a good spot. I think they all complement each other well. Like they also signed Devin Singletary too. So I think they have three backs. I think we're gonna see two back sets. And I think, they're gonna, maybe Cam kind of in that two back set is kind of the fullback type guy. And behind, in front of Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, and then he can also catch the ball. I think he's in a good spot. Like he's not being asked to, hey, you're toting the rock 30 times a game, man. We got to go. He's not gonna be asked to do that. I think to answer your question, Anthony, I think his ceiling is like Austin Eckler in his prime, and then he's gonna fall like somewhere in there.
You see him
Like
as a receiving back like that?
I could see him, yeah, I could see him catching the ball out of the backfield.
I think at his like for a best case scenario, I see a ceiling as a David Montgomery, somebody that's not super fast, but that could give you a lot of yards, a lot of carries, short downs. Somebody that is that you fear of coming downhill and be like, damn, I gotta tackle this dude every down. Like,
Hmm.
so if he could resemble a little bit of that, I think he'll be fine in the league. I think it was very impressive to see what he done against Texas because Texas have a top tier defense in college, but at the same time, Texas is not an NFL defense.
Mhm.
So I don't think he'll have a lot of Marshawn Lynch moments in the league.
I
There's a
do want to
wild card
note
too,
he
though, at
did
Arizona State too.
69 catches for 891 yards the last 2 years. So he has shown he could catch the football.
So y'all think he gonna be a third down back there, or is
No,
Tyrone still third?
Tyrone.
I think
No,
he'll
Tyrone.
be
Tyrone.
second.
I guess
He'll be
Singletary
second on.
could
He'll be
also.
second on the. He'll be second on the depth chart. I think. Yeah, he'll be second on the depth chart. I think he'll surpass Singletary, who I thought was a pretty good back for them last year. But in terms of when you're just looking at, you got two young guys. I don't know what Singletary's contract is right now, but you would prefer to keep a guy on a rookie contract than having to pay another older back. We know how the league feels about older running backs, so I think it's
Right.
just a perfect position for him to just take over that second row on the depth chart. I think he can handle the load of it too. So him and, like I said, him and Tracy, I like that duo for sure.
I think the X factor for the Giants is Jalen Hyatt, right? And only because he has a lot of speed. One of the things that Russell Wilson that he was known for is those moon balls. Now we haven't saw those in a great amount, right, of years. But if he can get his speed going and try to stretch out the defense, it allows neighbors to work underneath or be able to go deep as well. And then it could kind of just be unpredictable. But just because of his speed, I think Jalen Hyatt, he could be an X factor in that offense.
That's just because you went to Tennessee.
Zach,
But
who you think Scadaboo Miles' game is? Who he be like? Which player?
I feel like Scadaboo's game is so versatile that the sky is really the limit for him, honestly. Like I think his situation right now is so fucked up. That's the only issue. Nobody wants to be in New York. But if he's anywhere else in anybody else's system, I think he's not slow. Like you guys were saying he's not one of the fast guys. I mean, he's running a 4.5. He ran a 4.5. He's not slow at all. He could potentially be faster. I think you put him on a different team, his limit, he can be a CMC.
Oh,
He can
he
be up
say
there.
C.
I don't see any flaws in his game either.
CMC was a crazy pull for that one, though. I ain't gonna lie.
I think his ceiling could be Frank Gore for real, but I think his
And that's
floor
a great ceiling
That's
too.
a great ceiling right
That's
that's
a
a great
great
ceiling.
ceiling.
That's a great ceiling. I think they run similar too. They run like a if you
but
really watch them, they run similar. I think that'll be a good one for him. That's the ceiling though. That's him to the tippy top, the bottom D'Angelo Williams probably type of dude. Like, but yeah, I see a little Frank Gore in
CMC
him
is
man.
crazy, bro.
he didn't run a 4.5, by the way. He ran like a 4.65.
I was like four
He didn't run a
five.
4.5.
Hell no,
I
Yeah,
that
seen
ain't
I
no
Frank
was.
Gore
four
like
I
that.
five.
No
had to
lie.
search that up. I was like, damn.
We all got New York last in the division, rightfully so. But they kind of give me. And Scoob, don't take this the wrong way, bro. It's just what y'all put on film. They give me like Steelers vibes in the sense of like the defense can keep them in a lot of games. And we've seen Russ is not a guy who can take over a game, obviously, but he has
We know.
shown even in
We know.
even in Steelers stints, a little bit of Broncos, the game is close to the point where he could get you in a field goal range because the defense kept you in it. They could possibly sneak in some wins. I'm not saying they will, but I think we all talked about the D line. I think the D line is that good to keep them in some games that we probably would count them out on a regular basis. But like, because they don't have a terrible team. Like the offense isn't terrible, the defense isn't terrible. Like they're just not up to par of the other three in that division. But I feel like due to that D line, depending on how the game's going, where the game's at, I feel like they can definitely sneak in there and get some wins. Some like 10-13 type deals, you know what I'm saying? Games under 20 points, if it's in that situation, and we know the type of quarterback Russ used to be and kind of what he is, he's not going to get you 30 points. He's not going to generate 30-point games anymore. But if it's close, I do think he has that gene that get you in the field goal range or get a clutch touchdown. So I will say that about the Giants because, like I said, they're not a horrible team. They're just not up to par with everyone else. So
The only wins the Giants are gonna get is in Las Vegas. They're gonna keep it close to the spread. They're gonna make sure they're gonna cover. But besides when it comes to NFL,
Hey man, it's any
sorry,
given
Bucko.
Sunday, bro. Anything can
I
happen.
ain't gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Only thing
this.
the Giants need to win is the draft. That
That's
is
it.
the only thing they need to win.
They
That's
might be a
it.
good team to bet on. That's a good point, DeAndre.
It
That might
is.
be a good
But
team to bet on this season. We'll cover.
I gotta go back
shit,
and ask y'all this because
will it be
yeah,
3.5? It might be 6.5.
Right?
Goddamn.
Shit.
Even better.
Don't give
Even
me six
better.
and a half of the Giants. I'm taking it every time. Give me 7 points
I
for the
I,
hope
Giants. I'm taking that shit every
you
Sunday.
might be stressed out, brother. It
I
might sound
will.
good, and then you see how they come out and be like, God damn it.
I'm like, damn it, Russ.
I gotta go back and ask y'all this because y'all asked about Cam Scadaboo's ceiling. But I'm doing a comparison right now between Scadaboo and Ashton Gency, and the numbers aren't that far off. So why is Gency
What
ceiling so
numbers?
much higher than Scadaboo's ceiling? Why can't we give Scadaboo this same type of credit? 'Cause what's your ceiling for Gency is my question. Because
What numbers are you
Marshawn.
talking about?
my number are rushing yards, touchdowns, all purpose yards, and yards per carry is what I'm looking at.
I don't know. I don't really have much of a ceiling on Genty. I get the hype, but I also put into consideration where he played at. I know he played some top tier, like Power Five schools, but I don't know. I don't really have much.
You know, if the
The
Raiders
Raiders
drafted
chose
some.
Genty over Scadaboo. The Raiders knew.
Yeah. Hell
Raiders knew.
yeah. Well, I think career wise, like Genty has more of a track record than Cam. And not saying Cam's track record is not as good, but he started at Sacramento State, which could be viewed at as not as good. Obviously, it's not as good competition as Boise State. And then he spent the last 2 years at Arizona State. Obviously, he played well, but I think like the track record thing plays a role. The size thing plays a role. Speed. Like the NFL measurables, I think that kind of goes into account. But like stats wise, absolutely, Zach, I'm with you. Like comparably, what's the difference between those two? But I think it's kind of the intangibles part, the measurements, speed, those types of things.
There's one
I was
glaring difference. I won't say it, but it's kind of obvious. One's white, one's black. But
Oh, hell.
Uh,
We ain't worried about that.
What?
Nah, I mean, I think it's also the eye
What?
test. Like, if you just watch Genty's film compared to Scadaboo's, obviously they're both impressive, but one is just another level than the other. Like, one is hurdling over. He's also trucking. He's juking. Like, there's many ways that Genty could create opportunity to get a bunch of yards. And plus, it just shows that the difference in the draft. And like, I get it. Like, you have the stats, but stats don't carry over. It's not going to guarantee anything for Cam Scadaboo. It's not going to guarantee anything for Genty, right? It's just what it is. It's college stats. So I think when you could put stats into it, and it could be nice, right? But there's also another level that you're entering, right? So that's why there's so many first pick, top 10 picks that didn't pan out because maybe they had the stats, but you know, it was college, so the adjustment just is different.
I asked the question because I do like the pickup of Genty for the Raiders, but I probably would have been happier if we would have got Scatterbo and somebody else at quarterback. But I'm not going to mention them because we're not talking about them at this moment.
somebody's dog is crying, bro.
Damn, this a good ass mic, I tell you that.
Man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Catch us next week for another episode on Call For, man. Peace.